For another round of an obscure anime titles that I will review in this channel, here I introduce to you Woodpecker Detective's Office. A spring 2020 anime, this was one of the more overshadowed titles during that time, which is pretty disappointing considering how this was one of the more uniquely looking anime for that season and even for the whole year. But I suppose Woodpecker Detective's Office is living proof that visuals is not a clear-cut answer to winning the hearts of the people. Because even with the pristine still shots you could get from the show, which looks like you're getting one of those Mount Fuji postcards in motion, this was one of the more unremarkable titles that year. Much is for the reason of having failed to pass a lot of people's so-called 3-episode rule, which, if you didn't know, is this arbitrary rule in knowing whether you should continue watching a show or not after 3 episodes, which can be quite understandable, because despite what its name suggests, this is by no means a mystery/detective anime. It's actually more of a slice of life/melodrama instead. His story is formed from the recollections of Kyosuke Kindaichi 10 years into the past during his time together with the late talented Tanka poet and childhood friend Takubuko Ishikawa. And well, while it does a good job setting up mysteries with the whole whodunit narrative from time to time, well, the key phrase really is time to time. More or less, the title Woodpecker Detective's Office is a reference to the little side gigs that our two main characters have to support their life in poverty between the world of vice and literature. If you ask me, putting detective as one of its listed genres has done more damage to this anime than good. From the looks of how things were turning out over the course of the show, they probably would have fared better if they just listed it as a BL instead. So of course I'm only limited by my available material and have not read its original light novel, so how could I know? But setting that aside for a while, unlike the upbeat, mind-bending detective story you'd expect from its trailers, Woodpecker is cozy, is slow, just like the sounds of spring or summer or whatnot from Dvorak's Humoresque. The detective aspects of the show are more of a conduit for the generally slice-of-life storylines the show has, and it consists of some of the most eccentric characters you'd ever watch on TV. And it's not the Shundiri and Diri social outcast type of eccentric. I'm talking about that hipster Weimar Republic type of eccentric. But even with the bunch of characters it teased in its trailers, pretty much only Ishikawa and Kindaichi actually some meaningful screen time, which is kind of funny because you watch the opening, the ending, the trailers, the character art, all that just to make a set of overproduced background characters. And much of that part of the anime reflects to how the show is all laid out. It's confusing and unfocused, like some kind of manic episode of an undiagnosed bipolar patient. You just rapidly transition from a slow-tempoed slice of life to a heavy melodrama the next, without any hint to which direction it would go to, which is exactly what I would describe who our pale white-haired poet MC is. Takubuko Ishikawa. He was just as romantic as he was chaotic, as he was erratic, and as he was also kind of a douche. Is this a deliberate stylistic choice by the production? Is this who the MC is and what Kendaichi wants to highlight in his recollections for this anime? It's like that one WhatsApp meme, but instead of Friedrich Engels and Karl Marx, you insert these two potatoes instead. Sometimes I think that's the point too. Highlight how much of a scumbag his friend was, yet still chose to say for the sake of their friendship, the romanticism of it all or whatever. But at the same time, being the unassumingly chaotic anime that it was, it really is a hard say whether if this was a deliberate choice by the writers or if this was another case of a poorly directed adaptation once more. Some actually managed to drag through 12 episodes of this anime back when it was airing on a weekly basis, all while the reviews made it seem like viewership was dropping like flies to a dead rat. It was a slow-paced, episodic anime, which is not necessarily bad, but with its vague sense of humor, if you call it humor at all, alongside its very minimal character development and lackluster themes, Woodpecker's plot is barely redeemable. Yet even with all that, there were times where the show just felt like home, quote-unquote. The sounds of trees, the town ambience, accompanied by its pastel-like sceneries, together with its soundtrack, The anime can feel oddly comforting to watch after all the drama that had just happened. For how painfully slow it is, Woodpecker Detective's Office can be oddly enjoyable. While I wouldn't say it is underrated or hidden gem like any of that, it can be that feel-good escape of an anime, which it can be. And while it's true you could actually find better stuff to do than waste time on the show, if you just want to kill time like you're in a hammock looking at the sky spruced by cocoa trees, you could give this anime a try. Just don't set your expectations that high.